How did it feel to go up so big so early?
Well, it felt good. Our defense, again, was kicking, and I'm so happy that, defense was on all cylinders today, and that's how it's got to be for every game.
The Temple women's basketball team is rising to the top of the AAC standings with a huge Wednesday road win.
However, men's basketball is leaving Valentine's Day heartbroken with a 9-game losing streak and a matchup with a ranked opponent on the horizon.
And I'm Brielle Batchelor. Coming up, I'll introduce you to one player on the men's tennis team. Not only is he one of the newest in uniform, but he's also one of the best on the court.
I'm Miles Bailey. Later in the show, I will be sharing some international flavor on the men's basketball team.
And I'm Anthony Rossioli. It's not too cold for golf, at least in Puerto Rico. OwlSportsUpdate is live and it starts right now.
Hello and welcome to another edition of OwlSports Update. I'm Natalie Koranda.
And I'm Paddy Heckard. Today we have a full 30 minutes of all things Temple athletics. Lax is perfect on this young season, and golf takes its longest road trip in years.
But first, we start with women's basketball and a road win that has the Owls clawing their way to the top. The Owls are just getting hot at the right time. In a race to the top of the AAC, the Owls were looking for an important road win against UAB on Wednesday. But both teams started the night in the top 5 in the American, just a game or so away from first place, and the Owls got the job done. The Owls started with an early advantage as they came out on fire and shot 61% from the field in the first half. This included outscoring the Blazers 32-7 in the second quarter. This was enough for the 86-72 win. Aaliyah Nelson scored a season high of 24 points, and 3 other Owls, including Demi Washington, Rain Tucker, and Tiara East, finished in double digits. The Owls are now 14-10 overall and 8-4 in conference. Temple has also won 4 of its last 5 games, all good stats in mid-February.
Well, it felt good. Our defense, again, was kicking, and I'm so happy that, defense was on all cylinders today, and that's how it's got to be for every game. But I guess this is a big game, Johnny, but all of them are big. In our huddle, we talked about defending aggressively. We were switching, so we had to switch early and make sure that we were in their face. So I kind of saw it yesterday in our practice where they were really free and loose, and came into this game just loose and having fun.
Before taking down the number 2 team in the AAC, the women took down last year's conference champion in South Florida. Romy Levy was a pain for the Owls. She hits the 3 and led both teams with 26. For Temple, Tiara East led the team in points with 21, including these 2 jumpers in the third quarter. On this shot, the Owls go ahead of USF 30-20. Now off the pick and roll, Eveline Leach-Shippold gets the 2 to fall. The score now 30-25 Temple. Romy Levy is back with another 3 for the Bulls and puts them within 1. The Owls fall behind in the third, but this Aaliyah Nelson jumper cuts the Bulls' lead to 5. Tariana Gary also does her part, hitting this 3 to put Temple within 2. Now under a minute left. Levy gets the offensive rebound for the Bulls, and her layup ties the game at 55. On the other end, Inez Piper puts Temple back in front with 30 seconds left. The Owls hold on. Final score, 59-55.
This is what it looks like when you've won 4 of 5 games in a row. Temple is now just 1 game out of first place in a very crowded AAC. The top 4 seeds get 2 byes, which land them into the quarterfinals of the postseason tournament. Still a lot of work to do. There are 6 teams within just 2 games of one another, and the Owls have 6 games to play.
For the men, Temple looked to end an 8-game losing streak against Charlotte last Sunday. Charlotte showing the fundamentals on offense, and Lukai Patterson ends the possession with a 3. Now Temple on defense. Jordan Riley gets up for the block, and the Owls get on the fast break. Quante Berry drives and finishes at the rim, 2 of his 13 points. Later on in the first, Sam Hoffman gets the offensive rebound for Temple. Shane Dezzoni makes it past 2 defenders and makes the tough finish for 2. 16-13 Charlotte. Now Hyzier Miller with the step-back 3. It's good with seconds left in the half. But Lukai Patterson says, any shot you can take, I can make farther. A half-court buzzer beater from Patterson ends the first half. Now in the second, Jackson Threadgill went perfect behind the arc, shooting 2 for 2 and hitting both in back-to-back possessions. And after 40 minutes, that's just enough. Temple can't keep up, 73-70.
370 with the ball down 3 with the possession. If we didn't believe, this thing would have been 96-25, right? Like, they believe. They got to keep battling, and each night it's somebody different. And we got to keep hitting the stone. We talked about the stone cutter. We got to keep hitting it. At some point, it's going to crack, and we need to keep playing hard to put ourselves in these positions.
I mean, from what I've learned playing basketball, you know, it's not always going to be an offensive night, but you control if it's going to be a defensive night. So every game, I just try to look for the defense, and if the shots fall, then they fall. If they don't, I'm just going to play defense.
Memphis came to town for Temple's annual whiteout game. Jaleel White gets the and one on the layup, but is later unsuccessful on a free throw attempt. Familiar face Nick Jourdain pump fakes and drives. Memphis led by double digits most of the way. Now into the second, White puts up 2 more of his 20 total. Malcolm Dandridge searches and gets it down to a sneaky Jourdain, and he puts up another 2 of his 10. Hyzier Miller takes it all the way down as the Owls work to cut the lead to single digits. Memphis has it, but here comes Zion Stanford. He steals it and gains possession and puts up another 2. Miller puts up another 3. The score now 68-65 Memphis. But here comes David Jones responding by also, wait for it, sinking in a 3. In the last 30 seconds, Matteo Piccarelli sends one up for 3, but this was not enough to walk away with the win. The final score, 84-77 Memphis. The losing streak for the Owls still stands at 9. 2 of the 5 regular season starters for men's basketball are from across the Atlantic. OwlSports Update's Miles Bailey is with us at the studio set to explain. Hey, Miles.
Thanks, guys. The game of basketball has grown all throughout the world, and the international game has spread to North Broad. Players from all over the globe have committed to Temple and made a big impact. Matteo Piccarelli and Sam Hoffman are those 2 players. And that doesn't include assistant coach Michael Heckard, who has also spent time playing overseas.
The game of basketball has grown significantly all throughout the world over the last few decades. International players are coming to America to showcase their skills, and Temple is one of those destinations. Sharpshooter Matteo Piccarelli from Milan, Italy, reminds himself of another Italian-born basketball player that played in the NBA in Marco Bellinelli.
Not similar games, but like he's a shooter too, and I just look up to him.
When he first came to America, Piccarelli was introduced to a different style and brand of basketball.
Probably the pace and athleticism compared to when I was in Italy.
Sam Hoffman is in his first season here at Temple after transferring from Houston Christian. Before that, he played in his home country of Belgium, where the competition level isn't exactly the same as it is here in America.
The game is way more physical. It goes up and down way faster, and players are way more athletic than it was in Europe.
Prior to playing basketball in the States, Hoffman played for 2 Belgium youth national teams and came away with 2 bronze medals.
It was a high competition level. There were guys that, a lot of guys went to college, a lot of guys are pros now. Some guys even made it to the NBA, so I feel like that really prepared me to come here to America.
Assistant coach Michael Heckard played professionally overseas for over a decade and is an advocate for the game reaching the global stage.
Oh, the game has changed by leaps and bounds now. I played 12 years professional basketball over in Europe. The guys caught up basically to America as they play all the time.
And now they are here.
Piccarelli and Hoffman will be back on the court this Thursday as the Owls travel down to the Sunshine State to take on 24th ranked Florida Atlantic. Reporting from the studio set, I'm Miles Bailey. Back to you guys at the desk.
Break time. When we return, lacrosse season has officially kicked off. We have the recap of the first 2 games. I'll give you a hint. Both games ended well if you're a Temple fan.
We will go right into the highlights when we come back. See you in 90 seconds. Welcome back. Temple Lacrosse hosted Binghamton Wednesday for the second matchup of the season. Starting in the first, Binghamton's Olivia Musiolino looks for a pass in the 12 and finds Madison Murphy, who finishes the job. Moving on to the other side, Madison Barber takes it to just above the 12, passes to Belle Mastro-Pietro, and she gets it in. Mackenzie Roth makes a pass to Julie Scheckling behind the goal, and she brings it right into the 8 for another. Mastro-Pietro has the ball again as she starts at the 12, and defense tries to stop her, but she drives past and gets another in. Emily Liberio brings the ball all the way from the hash mark to the goal cage and puts in the last of Temple's 15 goals in your final 15-6.
Now let's go back to opening day for the lacrosse team's game against Colgate on Saturday. Temple down 1-0 early on. The Owls respond quickly with Mia Ciencio scooping in the missed free position shot for a goal, one of her 2 this game. Moving on to the second quarter, Mackenzie Roth finds Maeve Tobin from behind the net, putting Temple ahead 3-1. Colgate kept it close early on. Lauren Thompson dishes it to Caroline Panzier in front of the net and gets the Raiders within 1 of the Owls. With a minute left in the second, Erin King in the 8-meter arc makes a tough shot past the defense and puts Temple back up by 2. Moving into the second half, Colgate gets on the attack, but goalie Taylor Grossman gets in front of it. She finished the game with 6 saves. One last push forward for Colgate in the fourth, and another big save for Grossman. Temple comes out on top, final score 11-5. Expectations are high for the Temple lacrosse team after a disappointing 2023 season. The Owls finished 3rd in the AAC preseason poll this year, and they have 1 player chasing the Temple record books. OwlSports Update's Nate Wilkie has more.
Number 13, senior Katie Shallow.
1 game into the season, the Temple lacrosse team is sticking to its script. The Owls allowed just 5 goals in their win over Colgate on Saturday, and they leaned on the preseason Defensive Player of the Year, Katie Shallow.
This was a great way to start our day, and we're just trying to take games one step at a time and build a really fun, exciting game that wins.
Shallow caused 5 turnovers in the win, and for her effort, she won the AAC Defensive Player of the Week. This win is a good start after a disappointing 7-9 season last year.
I've been working so hard since freshman year, so it's good to see that things pay off.
Katie Shallow leads her team in caused turnovers with 83. That puts her 4th on the all-time list, and she only needs 3 more to get to that number 3 spot.
Giving it all I got. It's my last year. Kind of remembering that, but also just staying in the moment.
Coach Rosen is entering her 18th year at Temple. She led the team to playoff runs in 2021 and 2022. This year, they hope to return.
This is a really wonderful group. We have a lot of veterans returning, and then our kind of younger players have really stepped up and played well. Just being really, really smart how we're going to go out and play. But it's nothing special. We just work hard.
And that hard work generally starts with the leader on defense. Reporting from Howarth Field, I'm Nate Wilkie, OwlSports Update.
One team that hasn't been dodging the snow is Temple Golf. For the first time since joining the American, the Owls competed in a tournament outside of the continental United States. OwlSports Update's Anthony Rossioli is here at the studio set to tell us more. Hey, Anthony.
Hey, guys. Temple's golf team took a trip down to Puerto Rico this weekend to compete in the Palmas de Mar Collegiate. The 3-day event included big-name school teams such as Arkansas, Michigan, UConn, and Virginia Tech. Temple was projected to finish 10th coming into the tournament, but finished slightly lower in 12th out of 16 teams. Over the 3 days, the team finished with a total score of 865 and 1 stroke over par. At the end of the 3rd day, Arkansas placed 1st, UNC Greensboro placed 2nd, and Kennesaw State took 3rd. The Owls are right back at it on Monday as they head down to Hilton Head, South Carolina for the 18th annual Wexford Intercollegiate Reporting live from the studio set, I'm Anthony Rossioli. Paddy and Natalie, back to you guys at the desk.
It's time for another break, but stay there. On the other side, we have our first edition of Who's on Our Radar, featuring a very special guest who is new to North Broad.
It's this guy right here. Women's head coach Chris Shaw will be joining us on the desk to talk about his plans as he heads towards his first full season.
And I'm Brielle Batchelor. When we come back from break, we'll introduce you to the newest member of the men's tennis team. Don't go anywhere, OwlSports Update. We'll be back in 90 seconds. Welcome back to OwlSports Update. Dante Russo came to Temple via the transfer portal. He might be the newest Owl, but he's made an impact by being one of the oldest members on the team and also along being a team leader.
It's better late than never. At least that's what Temple Tennis sees when it's looking at Dante Russo. Russo came to Temple this past fall after transferring from Siena in New York. And he is starting his first full season with the Owls as their top singles player and one of their top doubles players.
I had the pleasure of competing against Temple last 2 years, and I saw the high level that they were at, so that was just kind of something that interested me when I was in the transfer portal.
When we recruited Dante, we saw he had some good results in both singles and doubles.
Russo played 3 years at Siena College, where he competed from his freshman to his junior seasons.
So I think he led the team over at Siena, so I think coming here, he was able to bring some of those qualities and give it to the younger guys, which is nice.
There are many reasons Russo transferred to Temple, but the main reason is that he has known assistant coach Bruce Myers for years, and his arrival brings a certain level of maturity to the Owls. 7 of their 11 players are either freshmen or sophomores.
You know, I've known Dante since he was a sophomore in high school. He was a leader on and off the court. As soon as he entered the Bulldogs, probably within 5 minutes was contact.
Since transferring over from Siena, Dante Russo has played a key role in helping build the chemistry in the team that has 7 new players going into their spring season.
We have a whole new team this year, so him and all the others are getting adjusted to our system.
Russo's 4 wins this season is tied for second on the team. But now he has to wait until March 5th for Temple's next match to add to his total.
The tennis season runs until mid-April with the AAC tournament, which takes place in Oklahoma. Live from the tennis courts here on campus, I'm Brielle Batchelor. Paddy and Natalie, back to you guys at the desk.
In this edition of Who's on Our Radar, we are joined by women's soccer head coach Chris Shaw in his first season at Temple. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys having me today.
Of course. I'll get us started. So throughout your career, you've had a lot of success with turning around collegiate soccer teams. What do you think is the most important step when turning around these teams?
Well, again, not every program's built the same way, and so it's kind of coming in and seeing what the program has, what the needs are. And, sometimes it's just, maybe a change of leadership, change of culture. Sometimes it's maybe the personnel, the players that are there. So it's always different. Unfortunately, it's not just a cookie cutter, one-size-fits-all kind of thing. So.
And our next question is, exactly half of your team's players are seniors or graduate students. Do you plan on involving more younger players in the games this year to prep for the potential loss of all those other ones next year?
Look, I'm a firm believer in playing the best players, and that's irrelevant of freshman, sophomore, junior, graduate student. That's irrelevant. We want to put the best players on the field to give ourselves the best chance of success. And if we have some freshmen that can get the job done, then certainly we're gonna put them in the game because they have the benefit, or at least we have the benefit of having them for the next 4 years. So it's nice to have freshmen that can come in and compete right away.
Coming into Temple, have you seen any similarities so far between Temple and the past programs you've coached for?
The fact that they're all women, they're all soccer players. That's about it, right? It's all different, right? Every program you go to has different players and different personalities. So there's, not a ton of similarities other than just it's the same sport and the same gender.
Gotcha. Coach, when you are trying to build a program, what are your short-term goals?
Look, at the end of the day, we just want to get better every day. So even from yesterday to today in training, we just want to try to make some small improvements. And if we can get better every day, then I think at the end of the year we'll be looking back on it and feel like we had a successful run, and that's really the goal.
Okay, last question for you. I'm a little bit of a soccer fan, so I want to ask a bit of a more technical question. Is there like a set formation and style of play that you wanted to bring to Temple, or do you think the players will dictate that a little more?
So it's a great question. In terms of the style of play, there's definitely a style that we want to play. We want to play a possession-oriented, attractive, we want to score goals. In terms of the formation, that's going to be dictated. You can play that style in any formation, but the formation is going to be dictated by the player. So if we've got a plethora of attacking personalities, then obviously we want to play more of a 3-4-3. If we're deep defensively, then we want to maybe play with a 4-back or a 5-back. But yeah, the players dictate the formation.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you the best of luck this spring and next fall as well.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. But it's now time for our last break, and when we return, we will take a look at a brand new event with just one aim. That's helping female athletics on campus.
OwlSports Update is back in 90 seconds.
National Women in Sports Day is an annual event that falls in early February. The Temple Owl Club ended the week with a brand new event that was created specifically to help and raise awareness for women's athletics right here at Temple.
It was an afternoon full of reunions, remembrance, and raising awareness, all in support of women's athletics. The Diamond Dreams fundraiser is a Temple event dedicated to help women's sports, and it's brand new. Current and former athletics, along with alumni, gathered together, many of whom have already been donating to women's causes for years.
I think supporting women in general is one of my missions, but specifically, you can see that it's actually harder for women in everything, but athletics specifically, there's not necessarily pro sports that we get paid millions of dollars at the end.
The meaning behind the name Diamond Dreams is that pressure makes diamonds, which is something that all of these Temple-proud women embody today.
It's really important for us as athletes, as former athletes, to be the foundation and the stepping stone in the grassroots for these young girls so that they know that they can do it even as better as men or, equal to men.
The inaugural event featured a panel with current Owls from the rowing team. The day also included lunch, a campus tour, and ended at the women's basketball game where field hockey player Tess Muller sang the national anthem.
We do it for the love of it, and we have to work twice as hard. And as far as I'm concerned, we don't support it nearly enough. So it's up to us to make sure that as alumnus and people who are successful to continue to drive that forward.
The Temple Owl Club plans to continue the Diamond Dreams event annually, in addition to raising money throughout the year.
One interesting note is that Temple has 19 varsity teams. 11 of those teams are on the women's side.
Wow, that show felt a lot longer than normal.
Well, Paddy, that's because it was.
That makes sense.
Well, that's all the time that we have for you today. Special shout out to Kylie Haberstro and Logan Matthews, our awesome producers, and of course, Matt Fine, the man in charge. We'll see you next time on this edition of OwlSports Update.